In our final foam rolling exercise, we're going to wrap this up with the quadriceps, which is going to tie into the hip flexors. So, as you can see, Andy is singling out one leg versus the other, and this is typically the way we want to do this exercise, particularly for males for obvious reasons. You wouldn't want to roll all the way from the waist all the way to the knee. So, what I'm going to have Andy do is he's actually going to roll from the bottom of his knee, which is where that quadricep muscle is going to start, and then all the way up until the hip flexor right here. So there's 4 quad muscles. One of them acts as a hip flexor that ties into the psoas muscle, which is, the actual hip flexor, which, when people sit down, which is what we've alluded to a bunch of times when we were talking about foam rolling, when you sit down constantly 8 hours a day, that hip flexor wants to lock. And we want to make sure that we can get it to relax, release all the tension in it. That way it can fully be stretched and be able to used without any injury risk. So he's going to roll from the top of the knee all the way to the hip flexor, and wherever he feels the most discomfort, he's going to hold it for about 30 seconds until that discomfort decreases about 50%, and then he'll move on. The quadricep can be very tender in people, typically because we're more quad dominant than we are posterior, meaning the glutes and the hamstrings. So this is typical in people that run or walk or really don't do a whole lot of posterior work, that they have tight quadriceps. So this is definitely a beneficial exercise for somebody to do before you start to run, to loosen up those quads. So after that run, you don't necessarily have the tight quadriceps, and you can fully use the entire lower body while you're running. So this wraps up the foam rolling section of Workout Wednesday. And the placement of the foam rolling usually wants to happen before you start working out. So you can do it after. But we typically recommend that you do this first, and then you're going to follow this up with some dynamic stretching, which is what we're going to show next, to fully be able to loosen the body up and to use it at its maximum capacity without injury risk. So this wraps up the foam rolling piece, and then we'll get into the dynamic stretching. Thank you.